Hi guys, welcome to PlannedPath podcast, your choice hub for book reviews and crucial conversations. It's such a good thing to have you on the show today. Remember that this episode was brought to you by PlannedPath podcast, your choice hub for book reviews and crucial conversations. Guess what? I promised you guys a few weeks ago that I'm going to bring someone on the show, someone you guys already know. She's going to be our first repeat guest. That's a guest that we had previously on the show, and the person came back. That means we're actually doing something right. Welcome on the show, Precious Ella.
Woo! Drum rolls.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening to this. I'm very well. How are you too?
I'm good. I'm fine, and I hope our audience are nice as well. Quick recap: Precious is actually an education. I said education. Excuse me. An English language graduate from Lagos State University, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you so much. So we have a scholar, a literary scholar that's going to talk on this episode. I'm too excited. I cannot even remember how to say it. Okay, so today, Precious, tell them what we are doing together.
Okay, so we'll be having a book review of the popular, famous book, The Lives of Baba Segi's Wife.
The Secret Lives.
Oh, The Secret Lives, yes.
The Secret
Thank
Lives
you
of
very
Baba Segi's four wives. Hallelujah. By who? Lola Shoneyin.
Listening, yes.
Quick recap. Lola Shoneyin, I think that she is the daughter-in-law of Wole Soyinka.
She is actually.
He is, and it tells you a lot of what they call it. It tells you about her background. I mean, she's not directly related to him, but I mean, at least somehow the blood touch her.
Yes. So it means a lot. It should count for something, right?
It should. I mean, like you were saying something about the dexterity of the writing and all. I'm listening.
Yeah, the choice of words is just perfectly crafted. No, you would know that this person knows what she's doing. So as much as the story is very captivating, the way she puts them, the words that she uses, and just everything, all the details is just very beautiful, and it shows a level of knowledge and creativity as well. So I wasn't exactly surprised when I saw that she was related to Oluwatosin. I was like, no wonder. Nah, it has to be something like that.
It's always place of the family and the blood. So we're reviewing the book today. So when you first saw the book, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Okay.
I think you read the book before, right?
Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
So the reason why I used the popular and famous for the book, the reason why I described it that way is that when I was in school, it was very popular. I mean, it's just like, because I studied English language, as you already know. So at some point, we were doing literature, and that book is just one book that if you've not read, no, I don't think you're an English student.
Is it even possible that someone has not read that book?
Right. So it's just that. So when I read it at first, I did not actually read it because I wanted to get the message or anything. I just wanted to read it because I was curious. Why is everybody reading this book? Why is everybody reading? Why is it so popular and all of that? So that was the mindset that I had when I read it the first time. And so I think it's been like years now. I think 200 level thereabout. So when it came up again, and I decided to go over the book again, and I began to see things differently. Maybe because I have matured, I don't really know, but I could relate to a lot of things, and it's just a very beautiful book. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very beautiful book.
It is.
So
the book was written in 2010. By the way, I'm listening.
Oh, 2010. Okay, so how I felt when I read it at first, it was just a way of me killing my curiosity. That okay, fine, I've read it. So if everybody says, "Oh, have you read it?" I can say, "Oh yeah, of course I read it." But how I feel now, having read the book again, I feel like it mirrors life, which is actually what literature is. But it's just what happens in life, as you know, because of, like I mentioned earlier, maybe because I've matured and I've seen things, right? So
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, so I can relate to this thing more than how I could some years back. So I feel that's how I feel about the book. The book is very,
exactly.
very relatable.
Um,
Especially if you're in the Nigerian setting. It's a
exactly.
very
Dating
relatable.
scene. Uh, I, I,
Yes.
I think for me as well, I read it when it came out. I remember someone had this hard copy. Then I think I was in that
Oh,
was 2010, 2011. I was in 200 level then in
oh,
university, ironically. Back then I was in 200 level as well.
oh,
And I read the book
okay.
and I just liked it. It was fascinating. And
Mm,
for me, and I of course I read it again. That's the beautiful thing about this episode and what we do at Plan Path. We don't just use previous knowledge. We read if even if you read a
yes.
book before, we read it. We should have done this podcast since weeks
Mm,
ago, but we just made sure we finished it individually. And when we're ready,
yeah.
we are now here to do the podcast. So
Yeah,
the thing
fresh
for
perspectives.
exactly. So the thing is that a lot of people think that men are bad. If Baba Segi has 4 wives, he should be the bad guy in the equation. He's the James Bond. But when I now saw Secret Life
Absolutely.
of Baba Segi's 4 wives, I say, I ain't nobody better than you, man. Like,
Right. The funniest thing. This book is coming at this period. There was the time when we had this DNA issues. I don't know if you remember some like
exactly.
3 2 months ago. So having read this book and we having to do this is just like bringing back that whole thing, because it is what is currently happening. Despite the fact that it was written like some years back, it's over 10 years now.
Oh, yes,
It's
now.
still
That's
relevant.
14 years ago.
It's still very relevant, and I think that's what a book should be, relevant over
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
years. Yeah, yeah. I think
Transgenerational.
yeah, like
Um,
it's not outdated. The themes and everything that's inside is still something that can be relatable, and is still what would keep happening. I don't know what will happen in the future, but for now, it's still relevant, and I think that's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's a good point to also note that world lifelong learning is something that if you plan to do well in life, you should pay attention to.
Mhm.
You can't live on past information or archaic knowledge. For instance,
Yeah,
World
true.
Literature International Day of Literacy, World Literacy Day is coming up
Yes.
8th of September, and it's such an
Oh,
opportunity for us to discuss issues like this. Sorry, and issues like
yes.
this, like issues
Yeah.
relating to literacy, lifelong learning, issues that would point our attention as a society for the need for us to continually learn using technology. We read the ebook this time around using technology and to ensure that
Yeah.
our children exactly understand what literacy is, not just going to school and say I finished, finally out of the bag. When people leave school, they say I will not open book for the
Done
next
and
2 years.
dusted.
Done ahead, exactly. That's what I was trying to remember. Done and dusted.
Yeah.
World Literacy Day is an opportunity for us to actually look at lifelong learning. It's coming up September 8th. It always comes up to September 8th. Lifelong learning and adventure for an opportunity for us to re-examine our lives really and see that lifelong learning is
Yes,
something that we need to, for us to stay tops and relevant in our world. We need to pay attention to lifelong learning. Yeah, so that's it. I'm really looking forward to collaborations for literacy day, international literacy day, and you understand, like conversations and all of that. It's on a Sunday, but I know that there will be lots of events before and after, so that we can talk
to
about this
commemorate
issue.
that
Come and book me, I'm available, man.
day.
So let's talk about the main characters in the book. I want us to go from Okay, this story is set in modern day Nigeria and it revolves around the household of Baba Segi, a prosperous but uneducated businessman who practices polygamy. So let's talk about the main characters, Precious. Let's go with Baba Segi. Do you want to go
Okay.
first?
Baba Segi. Is it Segi or Shaggy or?
Ah, I don't know.
I need to know the
Baba
correct
SGI.
pronunciation. Okay. Segi. Okay, let us call it Segi. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Baba Segi.
Segi doesn't sound right in Yoruba, but Segi
Oh, okay. Segi.
mm, sounds funny.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
All
now
right. So
what's about
now
him?
looking at the character of Baba Segi,
Mm,
he's a typical African man. I think
okay.
he's a typical African man. And why do I say so? Because he has this mentality. You know, Africans, we have this mentality. I don't know. I'm talking about like Africans, like Nigerian men
Mm,
specifically. So we have this mentality, especially the uneducated ones,
mm,
because it's education that is throwing all light on these issues. This issue. So he has this issue of, oh, it is the wife that should make girls or boys. You understand? So he,
mm.
because he's uneducated, he
Determine
would be
the gender
excused
of
that,
the
okay,
child.
fine. Yeah. So it's the woman that will determine the gender or the sex of
Mm,
a child.
mm,
And he also believes that she should be the one to hold the whatever thing he's putting inside. So he believes in that, okay, I'm doing something. There's a part where I think the book opens when he was going to seek help from the teacher man
yes.
about his last wife not being able to conceive. So he's like, I have had so many children. I don't know what is wrong with her. She must be the one with the problem,
Mm,
that kind of thing. So he's not looking at the fact that, okay, what could be, he's not being open-minded. And I
mm,
think this is one issue that education or illiteracy causes. So when you're educated, when you are knowledgeable,
mm,
you are open-minded. Okay, what are the possible causes? Okay, let's see this, let's try this. I remember how they had to force him for him to go to the hospital
mm,
eventually. So he has this African mentality that, oh, I'm the man,
mm,
I'm the head of the household, with the way he's even usually worshipped, the way
mm,
his children worships him, the way his wife, like literally, not
mm.
even that, okay, like we know that, okay, the normal respect thing, but like he's literally worshipped in his house. So I feel like he's like the actual African man. He has this ego, he has all of the pride, and I'm the head of the house. I'm providing for you, and according to the book, his wives don't work. His wife, because he believes that, well, what are you working for? I am here to provide for you. I think it's only his first wife, Mama Segi,
Yeah.
that had to beg and plead and appeal
And
before she was
scheme our
eventually
way
able to
through
have.
working.
Yes, yes. But the rest are just fully dependent on him. Why? Because he believes that, okay, any man that is not able to take care of his wives is not a man.
You know.
So he has that mentality, he has that belief. Maybe because he's not learned. Because when you're learned, you're educated, you'll be able to understand. Even though men are wired to be providers, they are wired to be the head of the family and all of that, but there would be a limit to it,
Oh, true,
right?
true.
So
So,
so for him, he's just like the African man in all of its glory. So that's the
okay,
first impression I have of him.
okay. So my own observation about Baba Segi is that, so like we said, when we read, it helps us to view the
Mhm.
world, you understand, through another lens,
Yeah.
you understand.
Mhm.
It just works like both ways. We view the world through the book, and then we read
Yeah.
the book through the world. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I get it.
If you grew up in a household, that's my own lesson really. If you grew up in a household that one's father is like Baba Segi, the polygamist. Maybe not exactly like the person married more than one wife. Maybe the person is a cheat, is master and lord of all. They give your father the I'm not your dad, Precious. They give the
Yeah, I
as adults.
get.
Maybe and I realize that maybe my father actually there is only leg of chicken they used to give us, or maybe wings. All the thighs of the chicken, all the better part. My father
Yeah,
is the this and this of
this
the house.
is
You may have
yeah.
to pay attention to your life as an adult because somehow it
Mm.
may influence how you view life.
Mm-hmm.
It may influence how somebody responds to love, one's mindset.
Yeah.
For
Mm.
instance, my dad went to an event yesterday, and this morning
Okay.
he sent me selfies and pictures of the event and videos.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a typical African man. My father would tell me,
I know, right?
you understand that kind of thing. So
Yes,
I don't
yes.
have the Baba Segi mindset or father
Mm.
upbringing. I've heard people's
Yeah.
stories, but I don't have a first-hand experience. So it is something that you would have to read books. You have to examine yourself so
Mm.
that you don't live life through that lens. You know, they say
Yeah.
that those experiences make some people good. There are some men that will say, because I grew up with a father like this, I will never make my wife work like this or slave. And
Yes.
there will be men
True.
that they will
True.
say that that's how my mom used to do. You understand? So you have
Mm-hmm.
to make sure
Yeah, they see it as a norm.
exactly. So you have to, as an adult, make sure that whatever type of household you grew up in, however your father
Mm.
was, is not impacting you significantly as an adult right now. So that you don't, like
Mm.
they say, generational cost, but it's just generational. A lot of times, generational patterns and ways of doing things.
Patterns.
So we don't
Absolutely.
so we
Absolutely.
don't repeat the mistakes of the likes of people like Baba
Our
Segi.
parents. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my own
But
observation.
okay, I completely agree with you. But my only argument is that knowing that this is the only area, this is the only way that you're brought up. I mean, if one is brought up in this, most times people that are brought up in this kind of environment, this kind of family, they don't see how it is done outside or elsewhere. Most times,
Mm,
I believe that you see the children of the Baba Segi's house, they are usually indoors. If they are not in school, they are back at home. They
mm,
are not given the opportunity or the privilege to see how it is correctly done. So,
mm.
in as much as they might feel like, okay, this is the wrong way, but they don't know what is the right way or what's the correct way to go about it. Okay, yeah, I agree. For instance, you can say, oh, okay, my dad is this, my dad is that, he didn't do this, he didn't do that correctly. Yes, it's all fine and good for you to be able to identify the wrong things that your parents have done. But now, how do you know which is right? How do you know that, okay,
And move
this
on
is the
from
right
there.
way? Being that you have all your life, you have been exposed to the wrong patterns and wrong way of life. And I think that is where lifelong learning comes in. You mentioned earlier that we
Absolutely.
have to inculcate this habit of reading continuously. So we are not just, oh, okay, I've done this, been there, I've done that, all of that. We are learning continuously and we are doing it intentionally. That
Yeah,
okay, I have identified this bad thing, identified this wrong thing. How do I make it right? How
exactly.
do I make it right? It's an intentional act from every person that okay, this this happened. I couldn't control it. But now you can control what will happen to you, right?
Exactly.
In a way. So I believe that lifelong learning is something that we cannot even do without.
Yeah.
You have to read, educate yourself. Also, I think there's something as self I don't know. I don't exactly remember how it's called, but it's more like okay, you have been trained, self training, more like that. You have
Yeah.
been trained, okay, all of that. But now you're an adult and you have looked at it, you have considered the pros and the cons, and you're like, no, this is not the actual way of life. And then you begin to retrain yourself,
Exactly.
right? So you're retraining yourself. You're like, okay, all of these things that I had grown up experiencing, these are not the right way. to go about it. I want to start doing the right thing. I want to start learning. And that is when you now begin to maybe have mentors, have role models that are doing the right thing. Right. So if it has
Let
to
me
do with
chip in
marriage or
something there.
something, you can go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please finish up your sentence. Sorry to cut you.
All right. So if it has to do probably with marriage or something, then you begin to follow all of these marriage counselors, like the kind of marriage that you would want to have, you wish to have. Okay, now this is people, maybe for instance, Pastor Kingsley or Concord, they are marriage counselors. Okay, this is they just help you to they just guide you. Then there are so many other people like that. And it doesn't always have to be about around marriage. It's just that this is the theme, this is like the topic of what we're discussing. But it could be
Exactly.
anything, it could be any area of your life, it could be financially. You're like, my account is on zero, my seed is on zero. How do I improve myself? And then you begin to have mentors, and you begin to have all of these people that you look up to, you see how they've done things over time, and you're like, okay, I think I can recreate this to get the same result that they've gotten. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I thoroughly agree with you. And I would just also like to chip in
Okay.
something. I don't know how come we're talking so much about lifelong learning today, and it's
Mm,
all about the place of we all need to keep learning. We all need to
yeah.
keep learning. We all need to grow, and in all aspects of our lives
Yes.
and all of that. But the thing is
Lives.
that the thing is, I would also like to say is that when we talk about sorry, are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay, so when we talk about World Literacy Day and everything, and lifelong learning, a lot of us sometimes think that is the time for us to now go and take a new course on Coursera and all of that. Yes, because most people, because World Literacy Day is coming up 8th of September, and like I said earlier, we are really open to collaborations regarding this, so that we can have an opportunity to talk about the importance of literacy, creating more
Yes.
literate and peaceful society, and all of that.
Mm,
Um, and literacy really isn't just lifelong learning in a bid to better our lives. Isn't just saying I want to take a course on Coursera, I want to go and quickly do
oh,
that. It's about
mm,
a something that is like now like an autopilot for you. For instance, now
mm,
it's not just about saying until I sit down to read a book. Before I do
mm,
an extra master, before I do my PhD, before I say I want to maybe relocate abroad to go and do master, before I can read a book, right?
yeah.
Even before I sit down to read a book, as I'm driving, as I'm in a bus, as I'm moving around my life, as I'm cooking at home, I can listen to a podcast like this where someone is talking about a
Yeah,
book.
absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah,
Like
audiobooks too.
exactly, audio books, even on your timeline online, all those gossip page are not really so much. Okay, yeah, it just gives you adrenaline gist and you're happy, excited. But you can actually I follow people like Simon Sinek, Derek Chew, people like that in those lines that by the time you follow them,
Okay.
it just cleanse your space. You are
Mm,
you understand, you are learning every day, learning, and such that it is now
yeah.
like a normal thing for you. I mean,
Yeah, it becomes like a norm.
exactly, it's
Mm,
autopilot is a habit for you, and that's something we need to strive to achieve as young people as we are growing. Because Baba
yes.
Shegi reminds me that, hey, if one is not careful, one will just keep doing the same thing over and over and
The
again,
same thing over exactly. Yeah.
and expecting
Mm,
different results.
thoughts.
It seems like this
True.
particular episode we'll talk about Baba Segi, and then maybe do other episodes for the other wives.
Okay, about the characters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because one character has a lot to offer.
yeah. Do you want to say
Yeah.
something else about Baba Shegi? Should I go on and then you catch up?
No, let's go on. We can
Okay,
go
okay.
on now.
Okay, so one thing I also see about Baba Shegi is that Baba Shegi is struggling to innovate in a world that no longer exists. It's like Baba Shegi was born in a world that no longer exists, and he's struggling to catch up.
Right.
And that's something like cultural and societal clash. Like like there's a clash between modernity and tradition, and we see this occur in so many.
He's a very traditional man.
He is, but there are really elements, like I wrote on my LinkedIn today, there are elements of our culture that we shouldn't just throw away. They're beautiful. You understand?
Yeah.
Our names, you understand? Our practices on so many matters, our weddings, they're beautiful. We shouldn't throw them away, but we should be open to innovation. The,
Yeah.
fa- the
Talking
fact
about weddings, that's a very sore area.
Baba, and there's no what they call it. There's no account in the book that Baba Segi actually did a proper wedding ceremony for any of the wives. Uh-uh.
At all. They all just moved in.
Hmm.
Carry your bag and come inside.
Like the way he even married the Mama Femi, the Mama Yatokpe
Okay,
rather.
Femi. She
Yatokpe.
was more like a reward or like a trade by barter thing that okay, since you were not able to do this, I'm taking your child for it.
Exactly. I think is this I don't know, like this whole marriage relationship thing. I mean, I'm not yet married as I speak, and there is no I don't claim to have the knowledge on it, but I think in a way, this thing of just moving in and just having children with a
Mm-hmm.
child, I think is
And
he
then
get K
all
leg.
of a sudden he's
He
yeah,
get laugh. He get K
right.
legs. He get K leg
Yes,
big
I agree because as you enter is the way you can easily just go out like that. You can't lay claims to anything whatsoever that okay, we built together. Even if they had built anything together, if he decides, you can wake up one morning and say, okay, leave. Just like he woke up one morning and said, okay, I want you come into the house. But if he had gone through the process of oh the traditional rites, I know all of that,
Mm.
the woman would have a claim to at least something that okay, we did it together. But I think he doing that also massages his ego such that he's like he's worshipped because they're like I have to be in my best behavior. I don't want him to chase me. I don't. So they're usually like walking on eggshells around him because they want to impress him. They want to please him so he doesn't chase them because they know how they came in. But if he, he went through the whole traditional right, he was one that wanted them. Like he wanted them and he did all of that. I do not think I stand corrected anyways. I do not think that would be the case. I don't think that would be the
True.
case. Even with Bolanle, despite I'm even very, very surprised because despite her education, like
We come to
she's
Bolanle. Don't worry. Let's round up this
okay,
episode.
I can't wait.
Wait first. Let me say something about. We will come to Bolanle. We'll talk about Bolanle. Don't worry.
Okay,
But let me mention something to you about Baba Segi. So
okay.
Baba Shegi is a reminder for a lady that today is listening to this
Mm,
podcast episode. And that lady is toying with the idea of marrying a man that is not educated. The man is not school,
mm,
but he's got money. He can take care of you.
yeah.
But even if you went to school, he doesn't behave like a modern man. Please, sister, abort mission.
Run.
Run, no, abort mission because money isn't all there is to a person. Papa Shegi is crude.
Yeah.
Even the way like he makes love to his
Mm.
wife, the way it's described, oh my God, it's becoming crude.
Yes, very,
I know that
very.
money is
But then,
important and all of that, but I think that we should not let societal pressure or our needs as women, you understand, or maybe the needs of our family
yeah,
push us to marry
mm,
people that we don't love, push us to marry people
yeah,
that we don't connect with, and they also don't have our value
mm,
system. I mean, what is Bolanle doing with this Baba Segi? I mean, how? Please, sister,
that
abort
kind of
abort
man.
mission immediately. Oh, abort mission. And
Please,
lastly,
run.
let me say my own last word so you can say your last word and we round up. My own last word on this
Okay.
episode, right, is that my last word on this episode really is that people do things like Precious correctly said that Baba Segi being the Lord and Master of his home makes him feel good. You understand? It meets a need in his. You understand? It meets a need in his person. It meets that ego. You understand what I'm trying to say? It meets a need. So people actually do things not because of the way they are, not because the way things are, but because the way we are as human beings. That's what makes us interpret life in certain ways and do certain things. You understand? So our sense of right and wrong and a sense of judgment is usually based on our ego. So when you see yourself, like if I see myself doing certain things, I should know that this is pointing to like a need in me. Like if for instance now, like Baba said, I like to give people money so that they can say, thank you, ma, God bless you.
Thank you.
You understand? That means that there's
It
something
massages his ego.
there's something fundamentally wrong with me that I need to pay attention to. You understand? And resolve.
Yes.
Yes. So yes, please, Precious, let's have your final word on this episode. Because today we have actually reviewed Baba Segi, the character of Baba Segi in the book Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wife. So let's have your concluding thoughts as we wrap this episode.
Okay. All right. So what I would like to say as a way of concluding this is that as much as we can be, okay, as much as Baba Segi is uneducated, I do not think it's exactly wrong to be uneducated because, he didn't make himself uneducated. It's just life. It's just what life threw at him. But his problem was that he was not open to learning new things. And I mentioned it earlier that you having an open mind. So you could be uneducated, you might be clueless about something, you might be ignorant about something, but it is the attitude that you have towards that, okay, you don't know this thing. How willing are you to learn it? Are you willing to learn it? Do you care to know? So for him, he didn't care to know. He just believes that, okay, this is what I know. This is what I'm going to hold on to. This is just how it should be. Right. But one thing with life is that it's revolves, yeah. So it is not just this one thing that you keep on holding on to. Oh yeah. It's just this or nothing. So I would like to appeal to everyone that, okay, as much as we could, and uneducatedness does not necessarily have to do with book smart or anything. You can be uneducated about something.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you now learn if you are not open-minded, if you have a fixed mindset that, oh, if it's not this, it's nothing? So as much as possible as human beings, knowing that life revolves, we should have an open mind. Everybody cannot know everything. Nobody is an island of knowledge. So there's still something that you don't know about. There's still something that you need to learn. And if you don't have that open mind to learn something or learn new things, I do not think that there would be any form of progress. Right. So as much as possible, let's try to have an open mind. Let's try to have a growth mindset. Let's not just have this fixed mindset that, oh, it's this or nothing. Like, let's be open-minded. Yeah. So yeah,
Thank you,
that's it.
mommy. So you have heard it from Precious Ella this evening that it's important for us to have an open mindset, a growth mindset as we do our work and we conduct our life. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. So next episode we're going to be talking about our next character, that is the first wife of Baba Segi, that is of course Segi. Yes. So thank you for listening. Remember that this episode was brought to you by PlannedPath Podcast. It's just up for book reviews and crucial conversations. Thank you for listening. My name is Oluwatosin Mogbadunade. See you at your next event, at the next episode. Share this episode though. Bye, Ella.
Bye. Okay.